The life of Abraham Lincoln reflects a uniquely American journey from humble log cabin beginnings to iconic national leadership guiding the country through its gravest crisis. Along Lincoln's remarkable path to the White House, he relied on strength of character, tender humanity, and the power of words. His speeches moved a divided people through the fiery trial of civil war. His resolve held firm through battlefields soaked in blood till victory was won, preserving the Union while beginning America's path towards greater equality. Abraham Lincoln was born in a one-room log cabin on Sinking Spring Farm near Hodgenville, Kentucky on February 12, 1809. His parents, Thomas and Nancy Lincoln, were hardscrabble farmers with little formal education, but they instilled in Abraham an enthusiasm for learning. As a boy, he would walk for miles to borrow books and read voraciously about history, mathematics, poetry, and anything else he could get his hands on. The Lincolns struggled financially in Kentucky and Indiana as Abraham was growing up. He described his childhood as the short and simple annals of the poor. An entertaining story is told of how Thomas once asked young Abraham to walk several miles to help on another farm. Abe certainly earned his 25 cents that day, as he spent the entire day powering a treadmill that was set up to grind grain into meal. No wonder Abraham grew up to be over 6 feet tall and immensely strong. In 1816, 7-year-old Abraham faced tragedy when his mother Nancy died of milk sickness. This led his father to remarry. Abraham's stepmother, Sarah Bush Johnston Lincoln, brought warmth, affection, and her 3 children into the home. She recognized Abraham's special qualities and intellect and encouraged his thirst for reading and learning. As a youth, Abraham liked to tell jokes and stories while working or relaxing around the fireplace. This got him the nickname Laughing Abe. However, there was tragedy and hardship too. At just 9 years old, Abraham witnessed the death of his baby brother, who apparently was kicked in the head by their horse. This must have impacted him deeply. Still, he maintained a reputation for storytelling, playfulness, and wit throughout much of his life. In 1830, 21-year-old Abraham struck out on his own, canoeing down the Sangamon River to the village of New Salem, Illinois, where he would live for the next 6 years. There, Lincoln tried his hand at a variety of occupations to make ends meet: clerk, shop owner, postmaster, surveyor. His favorite activity was regaling villagers with jokes, stories, and poetry while relaxing at the general store. This caught the attention of a local army captain who encouraged the talented storyteller to consider politics and law. So in 1832, Abraham made his first political speech in his long underwear. He was nervously retrieving items from his room while guests waited downstairs for a friend's social event. Suddenly, he was invited to offer remarks, not even time to get dressed, so in underwear it would have to be. Abraham laughed off the awkward situation and spoke eloquently, launching what would be a uniquely distinguished political career in American history. The gangly backwoods lawyer was known for disarming opponents with wit and folksy humor. During an 1832 debate, a supporter called Democrat Jesse B. Thomas the little gentleman from Covington. Lincoln, at nearly 6'4", stood and bowed politely at Thomas's smaller stature, diffusing the situation amidst laughter. In another instance, Lincoln exploited his height for laughs when a fence proved too short to keep ostriches in an Illinois circus from wandering. He deadpanned, "The simple truth is the railroads have made my breeches too short." Indeed, Abraham Lincoln positioned himself as a champion for keeping America united as tensions around slavery and states' rights intensified in the 1850s. His gift for rhetoric, metaphor, and even humor proved powerful in speeches denouncing the spread of slavery into new territories. A famous Lincoln zinger poked fun at Senator Stephen Douglas's convoluted positions on state sovereignty regarding slavery. When Douglas declared residents of new territories could vote slavery up or down based on popular sovereignty, Lincoln quipped, "Why, at this rate, you will turn this government from its original principles and make it as tumbling and easily shifted from place to place as our shelter tents and encampments." The imagery humorously framed Douglas as aimless as a lost soldier sleeping under makeshift canvas. Lincoln also grew more eloquent and stirring when the situation called for it. His House-divided speech in 1858 warned that America could not continue existing half-free and half-slave, and it made clear his moral opposition to the inherently cruel injustice of human bondage. This high watermark of anti-slavery rhetoric garnered national attention and cemented Lincoln as a force to be reckoned with. By 1860, the whirlwind political outsider secured the Republican nomination for president. And in November, Lincoln completed his unlikely ascent to the nation's highest office, though with less than 40% of the popular vote. Southern states were horrified at the looming restriction of slavery expansion. Within weeks of Lincoln's win, South Carolina led the March for Secession that sparked bloody civil war. Over 4 arduous years, President Lincoln steered the Union cause with brilliant political skill and resolve, even through demoralizing early losses and contempt from critics decrying him as an inept country bumpkin lawyer. But his gift for words lifted and humanized the base conflict as a struggle testing whether democracy could endure against the forces that would tear it apart. Through passionate oration, Lincoln made the war for Union seem noble, a war for equality and freedom. As death and destruction mounted to staggering levels from 1862 to 1865, President Lincoln faced mounting criticism and despair. But he persevered through personal pain and pressure like few leaders in history. Lincoln drew strength from humor and storytelling even in the darkest of times. Once when tensions ran hot over military failures, Lincoln likened the situation to a farmer plowing an unruly field. Continuing when angry advisors failed to see the metaphor, Lincoln quipped, "Why some of these men complain as much about my cabinet as the farmer did about his bull?" When asked what he meant, Lincoln smirked. "Well, you see, it wasn't the farmer's bull that complained, it was the farmer himself." And during perhaps the war's lowest point, the summer re-election campaign of 1864, Lincoln actually burst into laughter reading a memo on state politics. Confused staffers wondered if he had lost his senses, but Lincoln waved them off, chuckling, "I just had to laugh at myself. Here I am reading about state politics while the entire Union is crashing down around me. It's like that man so worried about his barn door when his whole barn is on fire." Lincoln's humor leavened spirits enough to prime miraculous autumn victories that saved his presidency and the Union cause. In November 1864, Lincoln handily won re-election on the slogan of "Don't swap horses midstream" as the tide finally turned for Union forces. Over the next 5 months, the president guided the war to successful conclusion while planning reconciliation and reconstruction for the ravaged South. Tragically, Lincoln would not live to lead the peace. On April 14, 1865, he was gunned down by pro-Southern sympathizer John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater just days after Robert E. Lee surrendered his Confederate forces. The great orator's last public words to a crowd gathered outside the White House were appropriately a plea for voting rights regardless of race or class, a fitting end for one whose rise had embodied emerging equality in 19th century America. Abraham Lincoln's life reflected both profound tragedy and hope. His humor, eloquence, and political genius shepherded America through its severest test, ending the national sin of slavery at immense cost. And in final sacrifice, Lincoln reaffirmed the promise of democracy, government of, by, and for common people that remains America's guiding light over a century since his passing. That brings us to the end of this, remembering the extraordinary life and leadership of Abraham Lincoln, rising from humble beginnings to guide America through its gravest crisis, while relying on humor and iconic wisdom along the way. I hope you enjoyed this journey through Lincoln's remarkable legacy. If you liked this show, I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe and leave a review with your podcast platform of choice. That will help others discover this podcast. Just search for Quiet Please to find more historical biography episodes like this one. A very special thanks to you for listening to this episode sharing Lincoln's unforgettable story, which was brought to you by Quiet Please. We aim to intrigue and inspire by spotlighting legendary lives.